Hello, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is Dr. Sana. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to discuss about the prayer rules in Islam and the menstruation period. So, some women asked me about the about taking or the ritual bath and doing Salah after the menstruation period and the rules about those time. How we can make sure that the menstruation ended and the Salah. Let's look deeper into the topic. So, you may have heard many descriptions from the scholars saying that whenever you see the stopping of the period, you should pray or you should take the ghusl and pray. One thing you should understand is that each female body is different, and according to the life cycle of the female, in the same female itself there may be difference in the menstruation cycle in the same female itself. So this is depends purely on the lifestyle, stress, or conditions she goes through on each month of her life cycle. So you should note that menstruation is not like an on and off switch, so that you can determine that this time it stops and you should pray the next second, or you cannot identify or you cannot do like that, because in previous video we mentioned that there is different patterns of menstrual flow or menstrual bleeding. You should keep in mind that each female is different according to their age, their lifestyle, and the hormones in their body, etc. So what you should know that in some female, the menstruation starts at sudden, like they will have heavy bleeding on the day when it starts itself. For some women, it is like spotting in the first 1 or 2 days. They don't need any pad changes on those days, or just they need only liners. Then after 1 or 2 days, the heavy bleeding starts, and they need to change the pads regularly within 3 to 4 hours, and it continues 4 to 5 days, and then they may have spotting for the last 2 days. Okay, but in some cases, the women have heavy bleeding on the first 2-3 days, and then spotting on the last 1 or 2 days. Or in some women, they have spotting on the 1 to 2 days, and then heavy bleeding then stops. So each pattern, in these patterns also, in same women, there may be a change in cycles according to the lifestyle and stress she goes through in each cycle. Okay, what you should know though, that analyze for some time how is your pattern, and when the menstruation starts, that's puberty time, first 2 years, most of the people have irregular periods, so you may not get the correct picture of the cycle, but after sometimes it becomes more regular in your life. So what you should know that analyze your cycle for some time and take a note of that bleeding days and compare it with every previous cycle. So that way you could get a rough idea of cycle length and each month's cycle. According to Islamic view, how to determine when you should take a ritual bath and pray for, according to authentic narrations like Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih al-Muslim, a woman restarts her prayer after menstruation when it becomes pure from menstruation. The signs of purity by scholars based on hadith are complete stopping of menstrual bleeding, that is the red bleeding, red colored bleeding, and seeing the white discharge, dryness or white discharge from her vagina. So let's look into the evidence from hadith. Aisha bint Abu Bakr reported that a woman used to send her clothes with the traces of yellow discharge to her, and she would say, "Do not hurry until you see the white discharge." So, even after the spotting days, sometimes a red discoloration or a brownish discoloration can come after some 7 or 8 hours, even after the spotting stopped. So in that case, wait for a 12-hour long, then make sure that you are getting a complete white discharge or white colored discharge, any other type of discoloration in the discharge. Then that's the sign of the menstruation ended in your body. So you should take a ghusl and go for prayer. This narration is found in Sahih al-Bukhari. So this means that if the bleeding stops but purity is not yet clear, wait until the clear sign of purity appears. Once the purity is certain, take a ghusl or a ritual bath, then Salah resumes. So let's look into the prayer rules. Authentic hadith states that the menstruating woman does not pray during menstruation time. She does not make up the missed salah afterwards. So that means you should only need to pray after you take your ritual bath. But you should make up your missed fasting if that was in the month of Ramadan. According to the hadith or according to the Islamic teachings, the main signs that menstruation has ended are based on the narrations from Aisha bint Abu Bakr radiallahu. The explanations of the scholars, the purity is recognized by complete dryness, that is no blood discharge related to menstruation, that is the brown color or yellow color or any other discoloration in the discharge, or the presence of white color discharge, complete white colored discharge. That this white colored discharge sometimes only occurs sometimes. So look for the other sign. If you are not getting this sign, then you look for the other sign, that is dryness or no bloods or no other discoloration present from the vagina. Okay. So the next point is how long or how many days we should wait for taking a ritual shower or ritual bath and do the prayers. According to any authentic hadith, there is no single fixed number of menstrual days universally set in authentic or sahih hadiths for all women. The Prophet recognized that the women's menstrual length differ. During menstruation, a woman is exempt from Salah and does not make up those prayers later. This is established in authentic narrations from Aisha bint Abi Bakr in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih Muslim. So, what hadiths indicate that Prophet ﷺ often referred women back to their usual menstrual habits or the days they normally menstruate. For example, he told women with irregular bleeding to leave the prayer during their non-menstrual days, then perform ghusl and resume the prayers afterwards. For this hadith, the many scholars have different opinions about the days. They interpret this hadith according to their knowledge, and there is different opinions in different madhabs. So we can look for these scholarly opinions. Now, 4 Sunni madhabs developed legal limits based on interpretations and experiences. In Hanafi schools, minimum 3 days and maximum 10 days. For Maliki schools, there is no strict minimum days, maximum often considered as 15 days. For Shafi'i schools of thoughts, there is minimum 1 day and night and maximum 15 days. And for Hanbali, it's minimum 1 day and night and maximum 15 days. So these numbers are mainly fiqh conclusions, not explicit Sahih Hadith statement. Please note that this is not explicit Sahih Hadith statements. Okay. So, practical rules from Hadith. A woman stops a Salah when real menstruation begins and resumes after bleeding ends and purity appears. This purity is appearance of dryness or white discharge. So, now let's look into what are the rules for Salah in bleeding disorders. In Islamic view, the bleeding disorders are treated differently from normal menstruation. The main guidance comes from authentic narrations about non-menstrual vaginal bleeding. Once Prophet ﷺ was asked by women with a continuous irregular bleeding, and he explained how to distinguish menstruation from abnormal bleeding. Let's look into the authentic rules or authentic teachings to differentiate between menstruation and bleeding disorders. In menstruation, during the true menstruation time, Salah stopped, fasting stopped, and ghusl is done when menstruation ends. In abnormal bleeding days, or it is called istihada, this includes continuous bleeding, spotting outside normal periods, or hormonal irregular bleeding. Some medical bleeding disorders, etc., are all included in this category. In this case, Salah continues, fasting continues, marriage relationship remains permissible after cleanliness measures. Prophet ﷺ told Fatima bint Abi Hubaysh that is a vein, not a menstruation. This is reported in Sahih al-Bukhari and Sahih al-Muslim. So, rules for Salah during bleeding disorders are if you can distinguish normal period, then if you normally know your usual menstrual days or the color or characteristics of the normal menstruation blood, then treat only those days as menstruation. Pray during the remaining bleeding days. This is based on Hadith, Habiba bin Jash and others. If the bleeding continues and confusing, the Prophet ﷺ instructed some women to count their usual menstrual days each month, then perform ghusl or the ritual bath, then continue praying even if bleeding continues. Now let's look into the wudu ruling during the continuous bleeding days. According to authentic hadith, with the majority of scholars' interpretations, for each prayer time, clean the area as much as reasonably possible. Use pad or cloth if needed. Make wudu after the prayer time begins. Pray normally. The ongoing bleeding does not invalidate the prayer during that prayer time. Now, ghusl rules. Ghusl is required only when actual menstruation ends. So, in continuous bleeding case, count the actual menstruation days and perform a ghusl after the normal bleeding days or after your usual menstrual days. Continuous or abnormal bleeding itself does not require repeated ghusl for every prayer. Okay? Some narrations mentions extra ghusls done by certain companions voluntarily, but scholars explain these were not obligatory for every prayer. So let's look into sign often used to identify menstruation. The scholars mention darker or thicker menstrual blood, usual cycle timing, and menstrual symptoms and duration. These signs are based on particularly on narrations in Sunan Abi Dawud and other collections. So that's all about today's topic. We are stopping over here today. We will come back with another topic in the next video. Thanks for watching. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.